Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the Special Envoy of the Republic of Mauritius, the United Nations Human Settlement Program, Getensu. Acknowledge Andrew McLachlan, Senior Vice President Development, Sub-Saharan Africa, Radisson Group Hotel, Malcolm Hall, CEO Pro Property Group, Kim Emla, Development Director, Sub-Saharan Africa, Accor Hotels, Sherry Delhi, Managing Director, Delhi Interior Architectural Design, Very Shaba, Founder and Director, Shaba Green Building Solutions, Tim Halleck Jones, Business Development Director, Venture Association International, Tony Sadaku, CEO and Founder, DCI Holdings, and Daku Group of Companies. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I'd like to take this opportunity just to extend you a warm welcome. I know some of you have traveled to be here from various countries in the African continent and beyond. And I always call myself, since I've been here, the chief salesperson of the country. So as typical chief salespersons, when they arrive at every opportunity, they start selling their products. So first of all, I hope you will not only stand here and attend the summit, but also you will explore not only Gauteng, if possible, expand beyond Gauteng. We have quite beautiful country and beautiful tourist attractions that can enjoy, but obviously with the hospitality that you die for. So you'll be able to enjoy. Those of you who are in the hospitality sector will know that one of the countries that is most welcoming in terms of the service and the people. So you always feel at home, away from home. So welcome, and thank you to the organizers for inviting me here to share my views, especially as a new Minister of, I'm not sure if he's still new, but he's new Minister of Tourism. And also, it helps me to be here and to share even from a perspective of government economic cluster. I'm one of the co-chairpersons of the economic cluster who are currently driving the investment in the country and economic recovery of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, President Ramaphosa initiated an investment drive to raise 1.2 trillion in new investments into our economy. And part of what we see as important is the real estate development sector. As you are gathered here today, I would like to suggest that part of your deliberations in the summit should be to answer the question, what is it that you can do? What is it that you are going to do as a sector to respond to the investment call made by the President? In 2018, the finance, real estate, and business services industry was a strong supporter of South Africa's overall GDP growth. This is evident of how important the sector is to our economy, and the deliberations that you will be having here and the decisions that we take in these 2 days can determine our economic performance and contribution thereof of our turning point in terms of our economic recovery. Some of you are from multinational businesses that have invested in multiple countries, and there is at times a temptation to opt for limiting your investment in our country only to management services as opposed to fixed capital investments. We call on you to make investments that will contribute to the expansion of South Africa's gross fixed capital formation. This kind of investment will go a long way towards generating growth, creating employment, and ensuring that the growth we experience is inclusive. The tourism sector is one of the key demand drivers for real estate development. A prosperous tourism sector goes together with a vibrant property market. Growing the tourism sector will trigger an expansion in real estate development. This is because there will be a rising number of people who will become tenants, home buyers, and property investors. Accordingly, there will be growing opportunities for South Africa to create new businesses and jobs that result in increased local demand for both commercial and residential real estate. The tourism sector in our country has been growing even in the face of overall economic decline. In 2018, the contribution of the tourism sector in South Africa directly accounted for 2.8% of real GDP, which amounts to 139 billion rands, and this is projected to grow to 145.3 billion rands for 2019. It has been a source of jobs for our economy, and for this reason, we believe that it is one of the sectors that will help us to tackle our triple challenges, which is poverty, unemployment, and inequality. For this to happen, the growth in the sector must be inclusive. This means that the new opportunities the sector generates must also be realized by those who have been previously excluded. South Africa is endowed with magnificent landscape, diverse cultures, wild animals, and great heritage sites that are spread throughout the country. However, because of our unfortunate history, spatial development has tended to favor big cities and urban centers in general. And as such, real estate in small towns and rural areas is not developed. This poses great challenges for the supply side of our tourist industry in terms of providing the necessary facilities for tourists to access all the tourist attractions without hindrance. This is a great opportunity for real estate developers to invest and partner with communities to stimulate inclusive growth and development throughout South Africa. Tourism in South Africa has been growing steadily since the onset of democracy. We will put measures as government, such as partnership with the retail and banking sector in place to ensure that the growth forecasted for the tourism sector for 2019 is achieved and ensure that growth is sustained in the long run. Ladies and gentlemen, we understand that the President has announced that we need to meet a target as the Department of Tourism and the sector of bringing 21 million tourists to the country by 2030. This is just not only doubling the amount, it's actually more because we're sitting at 10 million currently. Now, what this means to many of us, it means opportunities. Because when these tourists arrive, they need places to stay, they need places to visit. So we have to be able to respond to that and make sure that when this happens, all of us are ready, but see this as an opportunity for long-term investment. In his recent budget speech as well in Parliament, the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Honourable, announced an addition to our visa-free countries, and this includes Qatar, UAE, New Zealand, Saudi Arabia, Cuba, Ghana, Sao Tome, and Principe. In adding these countries to the other 75 countries that are already enjoying this status, our government is doing all it can to remove all obstacles for visitors destined for our country. In addition, we are also encouraged with the commitment made by the Department of Home Affairs that South Africa's new e-visa system is expected to launch within this financial year. This will also go a long way in easing travel to our shores. We are at an advanced stage of the developing of the National Tourism Safety Strategy, working with the South African Police Service, provinces, local government, and members of the sector. I know majority of the people who've been traveling to our country, especially as tourists, would have raised concerns around the safety issues. I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, this is receiving the utmost attention from our side. But we understand that this can be done by us alone. Hence, the partnership is important for sustainability and ensuring that we are able to achieve what we are set to. And this, all that we are doing, is in response to the concern that has been raised by various people visiting our country. And many of you would have seen recently with the incident reported in one of the establishments. We applauded the police for responding swiftly, but ours as the tourism sector is to say prevention is better than cure, and therefore we want to see putting in place and working together with the police and the security cluster, ensuring that we have preventative measure, we can ensure the safety and security of our tourists when they arrive into our shores, and also for those who have invested in terms of infrastructure and hospitality establishment within our shores. All these efforts are aimed at ensuring that we increase the number of international tourist arrivals into South Africa. And more importantly, to ensure that the tourists that choose to make South Africa a destination of their choice have the most enriched experience in any tourist attraction of their choice in the country. We are also mindful that our commitment and effort to create an enabling environment for you as investors might sometimes be misguided, and that we must acknowledge up front. There are areas in which you might have more information as industry players than us as government, and these are areas in which you will need your guidance and advice on. Our door is always open for suggestion and constructive criticism. That will help us to build a prosperous South Africa. We are simply saying, let us work together in a mutually beneficial relationship so that we can grow South Africa together. Failure to work together to respond to the challenges of our country will have very, very dire consequences for the stability of our country, but also to the economic development of our country. With those few words, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to wish you well in your deliberations during the summit and reiterate our commitment as government to constantly engaging, open for your suggestion, and open for your input in where you think we should be able to assist you to function effectively, to work effectively, but to contribute positively to our country in order for us to see this prosperous South Africa. Working together, indeed, we can grow our sectors, also the country. Thank you very much.